What's up, guys? I'm Jake from Jake at the Park. Today we're gonna go over 10 things that you need to know before visiting Disneyland in 2021. So stay tuned here at Jake at the Park. What's up, guys? My name is Jake and this is Jake at the Park. If you're new to this channel, I highly suggest subscribing, liking, sharing with another Disney fan. Whatever you can do, it really does help me out, so I really appreciate it. And it keeps you informed. And speaking of information, in this video we're gonna be talking about the 10 things that you need to know before visiting Disneyland or DCA in 2021. Now, while, this post-COVID or hopefully post-COVID world here, things are starting to loosen up, especially at Disneyland and DCA, there's still a lot of rules and protocols and kind of new updated things that you might not be aware of, especially if you're coming from out of state. The first thing we're going to be talking about is the Disneyland app. Maybe you're already familiar with it, or maybe you've had no idea this even existed. Regardless of where you stand, this is literally like the lifeblood of your Disneyland day and your whole adventure. Without it, you will be lost. You won't even be able to get into the park, and you might not even be able to eat. Yeah, all of those things are implemented in the app. So obviously downloading the app, that's a no-brainer, step one. But becoming familiar with the app before visiting the parks, that I think is something that a lot of people overlook. I mean, it's a very intuitive app, but if you're new to it, or maybe it's been a while since you've been on it, there's a lot of information and a lot of important information. I mean, for instance, if you need to get a boarding pass for Rise of the Resistance, if you don't know how that works or where it is on the app, you won't be going on that ride, and it's gonna make your day a lot more stressful figuring things out the day of than if you just played around with it for 5 to 10 minutes beforehand. So download the app, become familiar with it, and also a very important thing that a lot of people forget about is to sign into the app and make sure your tickets are linked to it. Yes, this might be something that you'll just do the day of, or we'll do on the way, but it's very easy to forget. And I can't tell you how many people I've seen show up at the gates. They go to pull up their app thinking that they already logged in or forgot to do it, and then they're just logging in for the first time. They can't find their password, they can't figure it out, the internet's slow, it's a nightmare. And if you really want to make your day efficient, download the app, sign in, link up your tickets, know how it works, and I'm telling you, this is going to make your day that much easier. So you've downloaded the app, you're logged in, you have your tickets linked up, you know how it works, you're feeling good, this is great. You probably won't have a problem getting into the park, but there have been a few initial reports of the tickets actually not scanning on the phone. Whether it's an error with the ticket scanner or maybe your phone, things happen with technology that sometimes can set us back. So bring a hard copy of your tickets just in case. And this is something that you'll just need initially, because once you're scanned in, good to go, you'll probably be set for the rest of the day or the rest of your trip. So bring a backup just in case. So as you can see, using this app on your phone, I mean, it is crucial. It is the lifeblood of your day spent at the parks. And you're gonna be on it a lot more, which means being on your phone a lot more is gonna drain your battery. So there's a few different ways to really maximize your battery on your phone. The first one I'm gonna suggest is turning off your Bluetooth. Now, we all have smartphones and smart watches that are linked these days. We use it obviously for blasting music on our way to the theme parks. Whatever you do, when you get to the park, make sure that you turn off the Bluetooth. It's gonna be searching all day, which is really gonna be draining your battery. And I can't tell you how many people midday forget to turn it off, and at that point it's already too late. You're at 50%, it's 11:30 a.m., and you gotta order beignets, and you're already freaking out that your phone's gonna die for dinner later. You don't want that, okay? So turn off that Bluetooth, you don't need it. Next, what you wanna do is turn your phone onto low power mode. Now, a lot of you are already familiar with how to do that. If not, and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I'm about to blow your mind. Grab your phone, go to settings, go to battery, and then toggle low power mode. What this does is it essentially cuts off all the location services, all the updates on the apps, all these different things that your phone is constantly doing for you automatically and draining your battery. And so you're gonna have the strongest battery possible while at the park, and still be able to use your phone as normal. And even if for whatever reason you need to download something or you need a separate app that needs the location services enabled, you can always turn this off and turn it back on. It's very easy to forget, so make sure the morning you even wake up to go to the parks, toggle that low power mode and you are good to go for the rest of the day. And lastly, I would highly suggest purchasing a power bank before visiting the Disneyland parks. This one I got for 20 bucks off of Amazon. It has 2 USB ports, so you can charge 2 phones at once, or anything really that takes USB. And this really is a lifesaver, just in case you forget the Bluetooth or the low power mode, or maybe it's the end of the day and you have 10% because you've been taking selfies all day. Regardless, this really comes in handy even outside of the parks, and you can get them for super, super cheap. The next thing I'm gonna be talking about is something that you probably haven't experienced yet and is still very new to all of us, and that is virtual queues. Now, Disneyland and DCA, for the most part, are all standby lines with no Max Pass or Fast Pass as of this video. But 2 rides in particular have a virtual queue system that you can only ride if you go through the virtual queue system. So at Disneyland in Galaxy's Edge, you have Rise the Resistance, the new e-ticket attraction. It's unbelievable. Highly, highly suggest riding it. And then across the street at DCA at Marvel Campus, you have Web Slingers. These 2 attractions are definitely the most popular attractions as of now, and they are very competitive, have a lot of traffic. Everyone wants to go on them, right? So because of that, Disneyland has implemented the virtual queue system, knowing that the lines are gonna be insane. The only way you have a chance of going on either one of those rides, or maybe both if you're super lucky, is to get a boarding group in the virtual queue system in the Disneyland app. See guys, I'm telling you, without this Disneyland app, you can't go on the 2 most popular rides currently at DCA and Disneyland. You don't want to miss out on that, right? No, of course not. But getting a boarding group is a different story. So this boarding group system can be tricky. Now, I don't want to say that you won't or will be able to go on the attractions, because I've had days where it's easy for me to get on and hop on and get myself a reservation. And I've also had days, unfortunately, when I couldn't get a boarding group and I watched everyone else enjoy their life. So this is how the whole boarding group and virtual queue system works. Basically, Disneyland and DCA give you the ability twice a day at 7 a.m. and at noon to get a boarding group, or at least a chance to get a boarding group for the respected ride at their park. For instance, say you have a single day pass to Disneyland. At 7 a.m. and at noon, you have the ability or the chance to get a boarding group for Rise of the Resistance. Whereas if you had a single day pass at DCA, you have the chance at 7 a.m. and at noon to get a pass for Web Slingers. But what happens if you have a park hopper? Well, that all depends on when you made your initial reservation to either one of the parks. You had the ability to pick if you're starting at Disneyland or you're starting at DCA. It's not until 1 p.m., at least as of this video, that you can then make the transfer and go over to the other park. So while you're at Disneyland at 7 a.m. till 1 p.m., that's the time frame to go and get Rise the Resistance, because that's the only time you have the ability to go to Rise the Resistance. But if you don't get your Rise the Resistance boarding group, you then have a second chance to get it at noon. However, if you do end up getting it at noon, you can't get another one over at DCA for Web Slingers. It's kind of one of those things where you hopefully get it at 7 a.m. and if you are able to ride and go on it before noon, then you have the ability to go to the other park, unless of course you have a single day park pass. So the object here again is to try at 7 a.m., get a boarding group, hopefully before noon, because you can't hold more than 1 boarding group at a time, and then at noon, get it for the other park. That is, if you have a park hopper. In order to maximize and really make sure that you have even a chance of getting not only 1, but 2 boarding groups, you want to follow these instructions I am telling you so precisely. Like, it's going to come off as a joke, but I am telling you, in seconds, in 3 seconds, they will be sold out at either park. Doesn't matter what ride you're going on. In 3 seconds, if you don't act on this, you won't get a boarding group. And I'm going to prevent you from doing that. So this is how you do it. Step 1 is linking up your tickets. Now, that sounds very obvious, but whoever you plan on going with on the ride, you want to make sure that all your tickets are linked up, so then it's super easy to get a boarding group for everyone. Now, if you haven't done this already, or you're unfamiliar with what I'm even talking about, the Disneyland app allows each family or each group of people to link up their tickets so they're all grouped in like a party together on one phone. This makes it super easy to go in and out of the park. You can just scan everyone's tickets all on one phone. But more so for these boarding groups, it gives the ability for everyone to get a boarding group all in one group. The last thing you want is for someone to get a boarding group at 11 a.m. and someone else has a boarding group at 2:30. You can't ride together. So make sure you go into the app and link up your tickets. It's super easy. All you got to do is either scan for the barcode, or you can implement it using the numbers, and you can create like a party of linked up tickets. So something that's actually pretty beneficial and nice about these virtual queues is that you don't have to actually be at the parks to get your boarding group. You could be at a Starbucks, you could be at your home, you could be at a hotel, you could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be Disneyland or DCA or Downtown Disney. Unlike when Galaxy's Edge opened up and you had to be inside the parks, this can be done anywhere, and this is something that you have to take advantage of, and that's making sure you have the strongest internet connection possible. Just make sure that you're connected to Wi-Fi and make sure you're as close to the modem or router as possible. The stronger the Wi-Fi, the quicker this whole system will work, and because you're literally competing with thousands of people, I'm not kidding, thousands, not everyone has necessarily the strongest internet. A lot of people may be driving and pulled over on the side of the road to get a boarding group, or maybe they're already, in Downtown Disney. If you can secure like the fastest internet possible, it only increases your chances of getting a boarding group. And I'm telling you, the stronger the internet, the faster you can obtain that boarding group and get to ride on Rise of the Resistance or Web Slingers. You have your tickets linked up, you have amazing internet, what's next? This is gonna sound obvious, but you need to be on the Join Boarding Group section of the virtual queue part in the app at exactly 7 a.m. or noon. Well, of course, Jake, how else would we be able to get a boarding group? What I'm saying is that a lot of people right at 7 a.m. or noon just then go into the Disneyland app. It's loading, they then have to click over to the virtual queue. At that point, they're sold out. The boarding groups are done. I'm telling you, 2 to 3 seconds at both 7 a.m. and noon, they're gone. So if you are already there waiting, and I'm talking waiting, looking at your phone, counting the seconds down, whatever you need to do at exactly 7 a.m. or noon, refresh the page by pulling down your finger as you would do to refresh Instagram, for instance, and then you have the chance to click as fast as you can to get a boarding group. Lastly, and again, some of these things sound obvious, but they're really important. Going back to linking up your tickets, remember everyone in your group or your family, they have the ability on their own phone to link up the tickets. So the more people you have wanting to go on the ride and have linked up tickets, the better your chances are at getting a boarding group. The best part too, it's not like if one person gets it and someone does, at the same time, does it cancel out or cause a, no. What ends up happening, because I've done this, is the person who gets it first, it automatically overrides in real time everyone else. So all you guys got to do is just go as fast as you can. Hopefully one out of your group gets it, and bam, you got a higher chance of getting a boarding group. I'm going to leave you with this one last reminder, and it really is actually a good trick. When you are trying to exactly hit 7 a.m. or noon to refresh your page, a good tip is on the iPhone, if you go to the actual clock icon, just on your home screen, you'll see a little second hand going. And that isn't just an animation, that's the real second hand that easily can be overlooked. And what I do is when it's kind of coming up to the last quarter or 15 or 10 seconds before 7 a.m., I kind of, in my head, it sounds goofy, but I'm counting down 10, 9. So at least it's not a quick jump of like, oh no, it's 7, or oh no, it's noon. You kind of have a better chance of counting down knowing, all right, I'm gonna get close. And especially if you're good at counting, you can get it precise. And I'm telling you, those seconds matter. Before you even do this, practice. Get some friends over, fill them in, let them know what they have to do and what they have to look out for. Because I'm telling you, as goofy as it sounds, at the end of the day, if you have a boarding group, it doesn't matter. So try those tips and let me know if they end up working for you. Let's talk parking. Now, I know a lot of you are already familiar with the different options. You got Mickey and Friends, you got Toy Story, you got buses, you got trams. It's all over the place and it is utter organized chaos. But I will say, as of the release of this video, the tram from the Mickey and Friends parking structure is not currently available to take you to the parks. Disney doesn't seem to be hinting at any date soon in the future that it will reopen. I'm sure it will reopen soon, but for now we are stuck walking. The walk from security to the Esplanade is about 3/4 of a mile. And I know that sounds like a lot, but between the excitement, the adrenaline, it's smooth terrain, it's a nice day out in Anaheim, no uphills, it really goes by quickly. So if you have the ability to walk, I promise it's not that big of a deal. 10, 15 minutes and you're there. However, there is one more option, and that is using a third-party service called Spot Hero. Spot Hero allows you to book, essentially, a parking spot in advance at one of the surrounding Disneyland hotels. Now, you could call the hotels or you can show up and hopefully they have a spot for you, but especially during peak times and if you really aren't showing up first in the morning, a lot of hotels already have either guests staying at them or other people paying for parking. So the good thing about Spot Hero is that you can do it weeks in advance and pay for it in advance, so you're guaranteed a spot. Now, as far as the location goes, that varies. There's a lot of hotels that are just directly across from Disneyland, but there's others that have a little bit more of a walk. Depending on where you stay or where you get a parking spot at one of these hotels, you may be walking a shorter distance, you may be walking around the same, or you may be walking a little bit more. It's all up to your discretion, but it is another alternative if you want to save a few bucks and not pay the $25 and walk 3/4 from security at Mickey and Friends. One more thing that I will say about the Mickey and Friends parking structure that I've noticed the last few times I've gone. As soon as you get off the freeway or get off Harbor, wherever you're coming from, people tend to gravitate right away to the first lane that they can, you know, because they don't want to miss it, right? Bear left as quickly as you can, and you can kind of avoid some of this traffic, and hidden all the way on the very left of the parking garage is another lane that a lot of people tend to miss, and this one seems to be shorter. So if you have the ability, be safe, of course, don't get into a wreck before going into the park, but if you have the ability, bear left as much as you can, because I think the farther away you can get from the crowd just getting into the garage, the quicker you can get inside the park. All right, let's be honest. Half the reason you're going to Disneyland or DCA is for the food, right? I mean, come on. You can go as classic as churro. You can do something crazy like lobster nachos. There's so many different things to eat at Disneyland. I could talk about that all day. The food is still there, obviously. That would suck if it wasn't. But the way that you order it is completely different from probably what you're used to. A few years ago, mobile food ordering came out on the Disneyland app. I personally never really used it, but I know a few people did and they became familiar with it and really realized it actually is very efficient. However, for the most part, at least as of the release of this video, almost everything, with the exception of a few different carts, are mobile food ordering only. Look, the process of mobile food ordering, you don't have to worry about that. That's fairly simple. It's as easy as ordering anything off your phone. You go to the app, place an order, you have your credit card, pick what you want, bam, it gives you a time to come back. However, there is strategy behind it, because just because you want a Monte Cristo sandwich now doesn't mean you're gonna get it now. You could wait anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes or as long as 4 to 5 hours. And I'm not kidding, hours. So having said all that, I'm gonna make it quite simple on what your options are, at least what you should plan on doing if you want to eat at the park. So like I said, it's a little bit of a strategy, and these do vary, but when you get to the park, you essentially want to order everything that you plan on eating throughout the day pretty much as soon as you can. Just because you put in for a Monte Cristo, like I said, doesn't mean you're gonna get it right then and there, and it could be a few hours. The good news is, if let's say hours later you aren't ready to eat a Monte Cristo yet, or you aren't around to go and pick it up, you can actually keep pushing it for a different time to come and pick it up. And also, say for whatever reason, you decide, you know what, you just aren't in the mood for a Monte Cristo, you got a corn dog instead. If you either cancel it or just don't show up, you won't be charged. Again, it sounds crazy, but say you get to the park at 9 a.m. and you want a beignet. You might not be able to get it right then and there. Go to the app, see what times are available for pickup, and you can kind of get an idea and base it off of then. And like I said, if you never pick up the order or you cancel it, you won't be charged, so you can essentially order everything that you want, and if you decide you don't want it, no big deal. When you go and pick up the actual food, there's also another strategy. The Disneyland app is going to give you a notification saying that your food is ready. However, you then have to go into the app when you're there and click I'm here for them to then just start making your food. Depending on what time of day, where you go, this could be very quick, but most of the time I've noticed, you'll say I'm here and the food won't be ready for another 15, 20 minutes. So a good tip is when you are on your way over to the restaurant or wherever you're picking up your food, just say I'm here, and by the time you get there, it will actually be ready for pickup and you're not just loitering around for 15 and 20 minutes. Again, it's one thing if you're at a totally different park and it's gonna be 45 minutes to get over there, but if you're already on your way and you realistically will be there, you might as well press it so then you can maximize your time and not have to wait outside the restaurant in order to pick up your food. While we're on the topic of food, let's talk actual sit-down restaurants. Now, restaurants are available for reservation only. Again, as of the release of this video, things may change, but only reservation up to 60 days in advance. There's no waiting in line. However, if someone does drop out of the reservation, their spot becomes available on the Disneyland app and you can take their spot essentially. So it's like standby, but you aren't in a standby line per se. As far as the standby availability goes, look, you could get very lucky, but most of the time, unfortunately, if you are trying to get into a restaurant, let's say Lamplight Lounge, you have to just be checking the app constantly and seeing if there is anything available out of nowhere. Like I said, most people do show up to the reservations, and even if, unfortunately, they do drop the reservation, there's also hundreds, if not thousands of people doing the same thing you are. So my best advice is to either make a reservation up to 60 days in advance, or you know what, there's so many different options as far as snacking in and around Disneyland and DCA. You also have the ability to bring your own food. So don't feel bad if you can't get a sit-down reservation, but it is reservation only. There is no physical standby line, and there's so many options, I'm starving. Let's talk current safety measures. So these can obviously change. I hope they won't, but as of the release of this video, the state of California has lifted their mask mandate if you are vaccinated, with the second dose that is. If you only have one of the 2 doses or you are not vaccinated, you still are required to wear a mask. These same rules apply at Disneyland and DCA. If you are vaccinated with your second dose, you don't have to wear a mask. But if you are just coming off that 1 dose or you aren't vaccinated, you are supposed to wear your mask. And I say supposed to because Disneyland and DCA are not requiring any proof with your vaccination card or identification. It's based off the honor system, but at the end of the day, we all want to be safe. We all want to respect each other. So please get vaccinated and enjoy not wearing a mask if you are. All right, I hate bringing this up, but we have to talk about lines and what to expect when going to Disneyland and DCA. The only silver lining with everything being new right after COVID and reopening was that the capacity was really low. It was so low, it was weird, really. But now that things have been a little bit more lax and more people are coming, every day it seems like Disney is really allowing more people in to maximize their full capacity. And this is great. We want to go back to times before, pre-COVID, but it could be a little crazy now that everyone wants to go back, and that only makes the lines that much larger. Having said all that, there is no Max Pass or Fast Pass right now. Most of you are familiar with what that is. Basically, it allowed you to go ahead and pick up a time to come back to a ride, and you can even pay more money to have it virtually on your phone. Again, as of the release of this video, they're not doing any type of Max Pass or Fast Pass. It's standby only, with the exception of the virtual queues for Web Slingers and Rise of the Resistance. But they did open the single riders line that exists on a few different rides, so that is another option to kind of skip some of the standby. But look, we've all missed Disneyland and DCA so much. If you plan out your day and know to not maybe hit some of the more popular rides in the middle of the day, save them maybe for the end, or put up with the medium-sized lines right in the beginning, the lines are the last thing you should worry about. And even if you are stuck in the lines, and I sincerely mean this, things have been pretty rough the last year, as we all know. And so even just to be at Disneyland, just to walk Main Street USA, really just feels so good. So standing in those lines, it's not all that bad. And look, if you have a good drink, if you have a churro, it really isn't terrible. So I know the lines are annoying, but accept them. Know that there will be lines, but it will be worth whatever ride you end up going on. And finally, this is, I think, truthfully, the most important thing to know before visiting the parks, and that is to manage your expectations. This is all new to us, right? This is something that we've never experienced before. I mean, Disneyland was closed for a year. When you come back to these parks, everyone is truthfully, you could just tell, everyone is so excited. There's gonna be times where it's a lot more stressful than maybe you intended. There's gonna be things that you forgot or that you didn't know. There's gonna be rides that you can't go on, or maybe some are closed, or maybe that restaurant or that food item wasn't available. However, you're at Disneyland, or you're at Disney California Adventure. This is such an amazing and fun place, and you can just tell the cast members are so excited to have everyone back. Everyone has a smile, and just because maybe you couldn't do something that you really wanted to do doesn't mean that the whole day is spoiled. It's gonna be an awesome time, and with all these different important informational facts, tips, rules, reminders, if you kind of go back over them, and really you should rewatch this, you really will maximize your day at the parks. It's gonna be so efficient, and you're gonna be able to do a lot more than most. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. Again, my name is Jake from Jake at the Park, and I'll see you later.